I think what impresses me most about Andrew Baird is that he was a man of very humble roots. He was born in the Borderers area of Scotland and trained as a blacksmith. By the time he was in his mid to late teens, he had developed a significant case of wanderlust and headed north, took a job as a lighthouse keeper, and decided, I think, that that sort of tranquility wasn't really in line with what he wanted to do with his life, and moved further south to Glasgow. He got a job at one of the large shipyards and worked there for a few years. And then something happened that disengaged him with that life, and looked around for something else to do and found that there was a smithy for sale on the Isle of Bute. And in the first few years that he was there, he very quickly became part of the island life. In the early 1900s, one of the big obsessions and joys of the population was flight. The Wright brothers had done their first flight at Kitty Hawk, North Carolina. Blériot, as part of a contest, had crossed the Channel successfully. Flight magazine was one of the popular magazines of the day. And Andrew Baird got caught up in this. He became very, very interested in flight. And in 1909, the first Aero, the first aviation exhibition in Britain, was held in Blackpool. And Andrew Baird decided that was something he was going to. And while he was there, he met all the aviators of the day, saw all the planes of the day, got ideas on what impressed him in terms of what a plane should look like. And on the long trip back to Bute, decided that what he would do is build his own plane. He designed it by incorporating parts of successful planes that he had seen when he was in Blackpool, and he sourced all of the parts in Scotland. And that's one of the things that makes this event unique, is that it is the first all-Scottish designed and built plane. By mid-1910, the plane was complete. He took it to a flat beach, Ettrick Bay, to have the attempt to fly it. He taxied along the beach, and off it lifted, lasted for 8 or 10, 12 seconds, turned to the right, and put itself back down on the beach. It was not the longest flight of all time, or the highest flight of all time, or certainly not the most controlled flight of all time. Andrew Blaine Baird, in that moment, had achieved the first attempted all-Scottish, heavier-than-air powered flight. So in that moment, he had achieved his dream. And what we at the Baird of Bute Society take from that moment is the whole mission and notion of the Society to assist the youth of Scotland to aspire to their own dream and to assist them to realise it.
I'm Lord Smith of Kelvin. That's my fancy title. In fact, I was brought into this world as Robert Smith, and I'm the patron of the Baird of Bute Society. I think Chris Markwell's done a wonderful job of just seizing on this, the humble blacksmith in Bute, and saying he achieved his dream. And the message really for the Baird of Bute Society is, apart from celebrating his life, is to say to young people in Scotland, live the dream. You just have a bit of inspiration, work hard, and it's astonishing what you can achieve in life. And through scholarships and programs around schools, that encourages people to go out and really try their very best.
The Baird of Bute Society has begun the rolling out of its programs a few years ago. And the first of these is a very exciting one. It's the Baird of Bute Society Canadian Science Scholarship. And it's offered annually to selected students who've finished sixth form and have been accepted by a Scottish university to take chemistry, biology, life sciences, or the like.
Hi, I'm Joshua McFadden, and I'm studying biomedical science at Glasgow Caledonian University. The Canadian Scholarship took the form of From Bench to Bedside. Those 3 weeks were just probably the most amazing, hardest work I've ever done in my life. We delved deep into science, like this was the nitty-gritty of the science. We went to Dr. Gunning's lab.
My name's Patrick Gunning. I'm an associate professor at the University of Toronto, Department of Chemistry, and I'm a Canada Research Chair in medicinal chemistry, and we're developing new drugs to target various human cancers that currently have a poor prognosis. I have a team of really bright, inspired individuals who have worked extremely hard and have been dedicated and motivated to develop 2 molecules that are going into preclinical and advanced preclinical trials for brain cancer and for acute myeloid leukemia. ultimately, that's my goal, is to get into humans with these molecules to try and alleviate these really horrible diseases.
We started in pure chemistry, just showing us like how they changed side chains of molecules and different techniques that they use. We got to see cancer cells, and they were given fluorescence, like that was inserted into them genetically, and if the drug that they're creating is working, then they'll show up. The more of that, the better. And it's targeting a specific molecule, the STAT3 molecule, and that's found in 70% of all cancers. So if they can target this molecule, then that could basically eradicate 70% of cancers.
The final part is that they are in Toronto at a number of institutions. In those environments, they move from what was theoretical and what was being scientifically developed into the actual delivery of that science to the patient at the bedside.
We spent time moving around the different hospitals in the Toronto area, seeing how these drugs that have been created are actually used.
Baird of Bute Society Canadian Science Scholarship recipients travel to Canada, where they're hosted by the Centre for Clinical Ethics and its relationships with Providence Healthcare, St. Joseph's Health Centre, St. Michael's Hospital, Li Ka-shing Knowledge Institute, and so on, which allows them to access some of the brightest people in healthcare, science, biology, chemistry that are available in the world, and in so doing, not only have knowledge passed to them, but build relationships that'll stand for them for the rest of their lives. The program, understandably, is called From Bench to Bedside, and it's been very successful to this point, and so much so that starting in 2016, the Scottish Government is supporting its introduction across all of Scotland.
It's a strange thing, but if you look back, there was a book written some years ago by an American, How the Scots Invented the Modern World. And it's medicine, religion, missionary work and so on, education, because when the Scottish Enlightenment came along, we had free education in all parishes in Scotland, way ahead of the rest of the world. People were coming to our universities to see how we were doing things. And it's still a very good system. I know we keep criticising, but there is something in the Scottish character about you're the wee guy against the big world, but lots of wee guys before you have succeeded. There's just something about going out there, and I've worked around the world and pitted myself, if you like, against the very best in other nationalities and so on, and you're just as good as they are, just as good. So there is something about Scottish character, and you have lots and lots of role models, chemists and Nobel Prize winners, and physicists and educators and so on, politicians, business people, lots and lots of role models that you can look to. It's astonishing, Scotland has produced people like Andrew Carnegie, who became the richest man in the world from very, very humble beginnings, went to America and made his fortune. Tom Hunter today was selling gym shoes out of the back of a van and made hundreds of millions of pounds because he built a business, created employment, and it was just his idea, a dream, and he actually realised that dream. Everyone can realise their dream.
I think the most important thing to remember is to do what you feel most passionate about, because you've got much better chance of succeeding. Don't do something just because you think that's the right thing for you to do.
So I always tell my undergraduate students and I tell my graduate students that it doesn't matter how smart you are, it's how hard you work. And I was always brought up with the mantra that working hard gets you everywhere. And from my hiring perspective, I would rather hire a graduate student that has a B+, but works incredibly hard and is passionate about his or her subject, rather than someone who is naturally gifted but is lazy.
Be authentic every time you're talking to people. Tell them what you really feel, what you're really thinking, not what you think they want to hear. And I think if you're authentic with yourself and with everyone around you, you will go a long, long way in life. And too often young people think they have to turn themselves into something else. So any young person out there, I'd say, be yourself. Be authentic in every single occasion.
Integrity is everything, I think. I think it is, you want to be known as dependable and reliable and honest. And I think a man of integrity is a hard-earned title, and it's one that it takes a long time to achieve and very easily lost. So I think people should be mindful of that all through their lives. Integrity is everything. You lose that, you lose everything.
I think passion does play an important role. I mean, I think if you are doing scientific research, you sort of have to be really passionate about what you're doing because it takes over. I mean, you're dreaming about your research, you're thinking up new approaches, you have new ideas all the time.
So passion that informs and illuminates and propels people into action to do things is perhaps one of the most important things.
And really taking that passion and seeing things develop from that is something that's very important. And I think many successful scientists have that.
But nonetheless, passion is what has changed the world.
I think the Society's work is really important because I think it's really important to emphasise to young people the value of education and where that can take you. And I think it opens up a lot of opportunities and doors. If I was told 15 years ago that I'd be in Toronto as a chemistry professor, I would have laughed. And I think my education and my ability to get an education really helped my career a lot.
Having a good education as the basis for, starting your career, no matter what it is really essential. And I found that, of course, when I started work, that the learning had only begun, and really I didn't know an awful lot at all. So, learning continues all the way through your life, and you learn something new every day. So really being prepared to learn as well after you've graduated is very important, and continuously develop your skills and your capability.
I have been an enthusiast for railways, for aviation, for drawing, and for many, many other things throughout my life. And it sustains you. That really does sustain you in the watching hours of the night. But to be an enthusiast for something is to have a life of your own, if you like, which cannot be damaged by other people, no matter what. And to me, you couple it with the one other thing which is most important, eccentricity. The ability to see the world from a different slant, from a different viewpoint than most of your fellows. To be quite prepared to be laughed at, to be derided, to be joked about, to be disenfranchised, and yet pursue your own unique vision. Is to be an eccentric, coupled to enthusiasm, and these are the people that make the civilized world. Wear your anorak with pride, I say.
Whatever you think you want to do, I honestly believe you can ultimately do it. You might have some knocks along the way, but actually if you begin with the end in mind and persevere, I think most people get there.
Well, perseverance is important because things don't always go to plan. And if you gave up every time something didn't quite work out the way you wanted, you wouldn't really get anywhere. You have to stick at it. You have to try and work out why it hasn't gone the way you wanted it to go or think it would go, and really stick at a problem, worry away at it, and then you might find something really interesting.
Don't be afraid of change. Don't be afraid of going into the unknown. Assess the risks and so on, but don't be afraid, and never be afraid about you not being good enough.
No one ever learned anything without making a mistake. So, you've got to be prepared to accept mistakes, accept the disappointment of doing something wrong, and then move on and learn from it, and improve in the future.
I just keep saying this to people: don't worry about making mistakes. You can recover from that. Everybody makes mistakes, and I made some quite big ones in my day. When things go wrong, you've got to be quite big and brave and stand up and accept responsibility. If you allow it to fester and you try to conceal it or something like that, it just leads to bigger problems.
You need to fully apply yourself to achieving your vision. I think if you go into it half-hearted, you never achieve it. You need to apply. You need to be prepared to apply basically everything you've got to make it work.
You can't do anything without taking a risk. Like, really, you've got to strive for anything you want to do. If you put one foot in, you're never going to get anything back. You've got to jump, just jump and see what happens. Like, you'll never know if you don't take the risk. So maybe applying for the scholarship's not a risk, but it's something like, what if you don't get it? But I didn't care if I didn't get it. I just wanted to try. And trying is the most important thing in anything you do. Everything you do has to be with your whole heart. And this is something that I saw in a lot of people with that scholarship. Every person I met was wholeheartedly involved in everything that they do. And passion drives all of them, and passion is what drives me.
The deal that the Baird of Bute Society proposes to the youth of Scotland is, if you'll work hard, we'll do all we can to assist you to realize your dream.